This is a very short news brief just to get you caught up to date as to what exactly is going on. Let me go ahead and give you all the entire screen, and then we'll just go on ahead and see what they've got to say. NATO prepares for nuclear drills, and they double the number of warships in the Baltic Sea to 30 in a show of strength after a horrific, quote unquote, horrific Russian bombing raids in Ukraine. NATO is preparing for nuclear drills and has doubled the number of warships in the Baltic Sea to 30 in a show of strength after the horrific bombing that the Russians allegedly has given to Ukraine. The NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg told Moscow on Tuesday that it would meet attacks on allies' critical infrastructure with a united and determined response, and was monitoring Russia's nuclear forces closely as the country was losing on the battlefield in Ukraine, allegedly. Ahead of a 2 day meeting of the Western Alliance's defense ministers in Brussels, he added that it had not seen any changes in Russia's nuclear posture, but was vigilant. Stoltenberg described Russia's missile strikes on civilians in Ukraine on Monday as a sign of weakness. Russia is actually losing on the battlefield, he told the news conference, saying that it was responding with indiscriminate attacks on Ukrainian advances. I don't believe any of it, but I'm going to go on ahead and continue to read. Think it's what they want us to know. Let's continue. All right. So that view was echoed by the U.S. ambassador to NATO, Julian Smith. President Putin is failing to meet his strategic objectives on the ground. And this has been a reoccurring theme for him personally since this war started, she told the online briefing. She told an online briefing. Now, the alliance will proceed with its annual nuclear preparedness exercise, Steadfast Noon, next week, in which NATO air forces practice the use of U.S. nuclear bombs based in Europe with training flights without live weapons. Canceling the drills because of the war in Ukraine would send a very wrong signal, Stoltenberg said. Russia has made veiled threats of using nuclear weapons against Ukraine, which it invaded February the 24th, in what it calls a special military operation to demilitarize its neighbors. It's an exercise to ensure that our nuclear deterrent remains safe, secure, and effective, he said. Now, here's some of the photos of the stuff that happened. Now, you guys remember this. This was where the ocean had some type of effect dealing with the alleged. I'm gonna just call it what it is. I'm not gonna say any of this is what it is. Well, because isn't that how they want us to report it? That it's alleged, so it's alleged. But this was where they said that Russia had damaged the water out there. Okay, and this is what's going on here. Nice gentleman standing there, looking at the bulldozer with his leather jacket on there. Now, NATO's military strength, he said, was the best way to prevent any escalation of tension. Stoltenberg has also pledged to boost the protection of critical infrastructure in response to the attack on the Nord Stream gas pipeline, saying that NATO had already doubled its presence in the Baltic Sea and the North Seas to over 30 ships supported by aircraft and undersea activities. Quote, a deliberate attack against allies' critical infrastructure will be met with united and determined response, Stoltenberg says. It remains unclear who was behind the attack on the Nord Stream pipelines. Stoltenberg also urged the Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, memorable name, Lukashenko, very memorable name, to stop his country's complicity in an illegal conflict. Lukashenko said on Monday that he ordered troops to deploy with the Russian forces near Ukraine in response to what he said was a clear threat to Belarus from Kiev and its backers in the West. Military experts see this as a potential attempt to stretch Ukrainian forces. For Headlines with a Voice, this has been the Lockhart News Brief.
Lockhart Perspective.